Well. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Sorry about that. I was just getting mauled by a drop bear getting into my house, but that's okay. That's okay. We defeated the drop bear, and now we're ready to take on the market. Welcome, everyone. I saw somebody said that I look at the sun to tell time nowadays. Anyway, it's great to have you here. And of course, this morning we have quite a few movements in the markets. A little bit down on the main indices, up on the metals. That's good news. And of course, the yields as well. Maybe not so good news. And even volatility spiking here into the Monday session. I hope you had a great weekend. I hope you're ready for a big week ahead. And of course, it is non-farms. It is the jobs numbers. We've got Jerome Powell coming out, and we have a whole bunch of economic data. Let's give a shout out to the people who here were early. We got Joseph, Kevin, Alan, Samson, Deborah, Drassel, Deborah, Chris, Jas, Aiden, and everybody else. Thank you very much for joining us here today, and welcome. All right, what's a drop bear? If you search it in Google, you'll see. They're pretty scary, I got to tell you. But they do, sometimes hunt the streets in Australia. So gold, what's going on here? 33.61. A little bit of tension here this morning globally, and it has a breakout. We'll quickly look at this one because the big story was really the replication of this trade potentially to the long. This actually was a pretty significant break high. And I was actually talking about this in our private macro show that we do once a week. You can join the links in the description down below if you're interested in that. And I was talking about how it looked like it was probably looking towards the bull side. And it just so happens that silver has also joined in up 1.7. So what's next for gold? Well, this is pretty positive. I mean, obviously it's hitting here a resistance here early. But if we get a nice daily closure, which we probably will, above like a 33.60, 33.70, then next up really is into these highs of 34.30. So you're looking at a pretty considerable move if this closure does occur, around another 2%. And then that could push all the way up to almost something around, maybe 3,600, 3,700, which has been our long-standing secondary target. If you guys remember, anyone that's been watching for a very long time, our first target on gold all those years ago was 3,000. We managed to achieve that. Our second target is 3,600. And we thought that that would get reached by October. But like everything in this market, everything seems to be moving faster than before. But gold is one thing of interest. The second one is, of course, silver. And I think that this is where the bigger moves may come in if we do see nice breakouts. And the key level to be watching today is 33.67. which are going to be the key levels to look at. So why are we looking at this zone in particular? Well, you can see here it's broken back down twice now, once back in April, once in May, and now we've seen the end of May and we're coming into June. If we do get a breakout, that's a pretty large coiling area. And often we mention on the channel here that when a market coils, when it gets stuck like it is right now, the breakouts can be quite significant. 34.50, the next target. And if it does break 34.50, wow, that's going to be a huge deal for silver, as it would pretty much mean that silver is now at a multi pretty much like decade plus high, and it hasn't really touched a 40 in a very long time. So it finally might actually be breaking out. So I think silver's still worthwhile watching. What do you guys think? What's your target on silver this year? Let me know in the chat. We'll give a couple of shout outs to people. So what do you think? Do you think it's going down? Do you think it's going bearish and you think it's $20? Let me know. Do you think silver's going to 34? Do you think it's going to 42, 44? Jeff says here, let's go to 69. Drop bear equals a hoax about predatory carnivorous versions of the koala. Hey. I know what I saw, man. I know what I saw. Silver, maybe it was a possum. Silver, 45 to 49 from Joseph, $63 from Geely. Very cool. Silver 55 from Durgesh. Logan says 10:40 p.m. That's right. In Australia, that is correct. And Ray says 50. So quite a few of you have got a little bit higher targets. Silver also needed for AI, according to Jeff. Production way below supply. Okay, that's cool. Another possible positive here. He's got 45 for silver. We've got silver 22. Someone that doesn't like it. Michelle says 56. Bullish on silver on the catch-up trade. Well, hopefully we can see that because, of course, a few of you out there are probably interested in this. Some of you are probably saying, well, why is he even talking about metals? Look, today the metals are moving. These are the two mains. We've got silver, gold moving the most. Let's move over here to the third of the geopolitical tension kind of positions, which has often been Bitcoin. And Bitcoin is seeing a huge amount of transaction. We've got large traders on Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, and they are absolutely going wild on the bull end. And of course, we saw a mass liquidation last week on some of them. We've also seen the highest level of options ever opened to the call side. So it makes sense that we're seeing a little bit of consolidation here. Whenever you get those massive high options moves, remember we got one spike, and that spike, I'll show you kind of where we spiked last time. Actually, let's go to the weekly. So if we have a look here, these are the main option spikes. We've got a massive option spike here, got a massive option spike here, and now we've got a massive option spike again. So basically speaking, usually whenever we see these huge, massive options upticks, we can go into either pullbacks or consolidation. So I wouldn't be surprised to see Bitcoin kind of chill here for a little bit, maybe even hit 94, go back down to the daily or to the weekly 20, which is mean reversion, and do a bit of that. So if you're long, wouldn't be too scared. We're at demand at this stage, but obviously the next level, if we do break under and close below 102,000, then the next level's down here. And if you're feeling long on Bitcoin, you're probably looking, I would think, at a breakout past 106, ideally with a low test back into 102 first. Something like that would be the preference this week for Bitcoin. Ethereum, as you can see, still consolidating around that series of higher highs and higher lows, and it's just sitting around the support at this point. Somebody says sound. You should have sound. Should be good, Nath. Everyone else hear me clear? Is it good? Quality's fine. Should be good. Everything says it's connected and joining, so that should be pretty good here. Big Silver Hot Dog says people think funnel webs are in danger, but drop bears not only cause political instability, but they also stole that baby that got everyone to blame it on the dingo. Sounds good. Perfect. Yeah, it should be fine. Just refresh the stream if you're having any issues, and it will be okay. The big story of the weekend video, if you did watch it, was, of course, the deregulation coming. One of the things we mentioned as we go over here to indices was the US 2K coming into focus, especially if we do see deregulation. Particularly, we're going to have XLF. Remember, if it's doing okay, financials, then usually that's a good sign or fine for the economy. If we've got KRE, regional banks, we do see deregulation, that could see an uptick. Huge component of Russell 2000. And do remember as well, 36% of businesses inside the Russell 2000 don't make money. So obviously, if we see deregulation in general, that's going to help financing. So this would probably be the big winner of a deregulation bill if we do see something like that pass. And I would say the chances are pretty high. But like we like to do here on the channel, let's actually put it to a poll. What do you guys think? Do you think we're going to see deregulation? So I'm just going to I'll load this up as a poll, and we'll see what you guys think in terms of whether we'll get it. So here we go. All right. Polls off. Make sure to ask that one, and yeah, let's see what you guys think. Treasuries, we'll take a look at that treasuries in just a moment, guys. 85% of you so far believe that we will see deregulation this year. So I think the market probably hasn't fully priced that in. So that's good. Eli says silver going for it now. Yeah, it really is. It just moved up about 0.5% as we've been recording. They've been slowly deregulating since day one of the new admin. This would codify it. Yep, that would be big there. Silver running to 40 what time horizon? 6 months. Really, at 34.50 is a huge break level. So we'll go back to silver in a minute. Obviously, you guys are interested in today. No, Trump is going to get too much going on already. I still think he will get. I think deregulation is a pretty big thing here. What exactly gets deregulated when you talk about deregulation? One of the biggest things that's probably going to happen, Anthony, is at the moment, banks, what they're providing is that they have to hold a certain amount of collateral. So let's say in Australia, they have to hold quite a lot. It's over 10% of all money that they borrow. They have to have 10% of that covered. So let's say they go and they borrow money and they borrow 100,000, then they have to have let's say at least 10% of that in cash when they're lending out 100K. Now, unfortunately, what it looks like is going to happen is this is going to be lowered greatly. And of course, in the US, it's already less than that. And what that means is there's less room to give. So if you end up getting less money, that is like less money on hand, having to have on hand for the amount that you're borrowing out, then that means there's less safety or security within the financial system. And of course, anyone can figure out the fact that if then something happens in the economy, all of a sudden you need to bail out the banks. So at the moment, banks want to lend more. They're having to hold more on side. That helps to secure the financial system. But at the same time, they're complaining about it. That's probably the most likely one here. So, of course, is it going to free up capital? Yes. What will it do? It'll allow people to borrow more. Ultimately, it creates debt. Debt is growth. And that is also ultimately the problem. So we know this here. People always need loans. Private credit just took the business from the banks. Gavin's saying that. Yep, but I think private credit dried up a little bit through the tariffs. So certainly, obviously, that's part of it. And Darth Buddha says the Jamie Dimon guy has been sounding more presidential as of late. What's this? I think he wants to run. Oh, okay. Deregulation is just going to exacerbate the subprimes, fuel on the fire. Is there any truth to the rumors that Jerome Powell will resign and Donald Trump asked the feds to cut rates? Not that I've heard, but maybe someone in the community knows. By the way, thank you very much to almost 1,000 people already joining us here today. Make sure to give it a thumbs up if you do enjoy the content. We learned nothing from '08. I think we learned nothing from any time in history. So obviously, it's something we have to watch. And on the channel, we will be looking at this very closely. But you've got to remember things take time. So obviously, you have 3 positives that we've spoken about. I'm going to let you guys know what I think 3 positives are continuing for the market. Number 1 positive is, of course, deregulation. Okay, we're seeing this. We always knew this was coming. So dereg definitely is a positive. Number 2 is going to be capital or taxes, tax reductions. The thing with taxes, though, is that I think, again, it's a sugar rush. And then number 3, can anyone guess what the third one is in terms of the most bullish catalyst for the market right now? In terms of sugar rushes, in terms of growth potential. So we've got tax cuts, we have deregulation, and we have, can anyone guess what the third one could be? Got to do with a machine. Maybe ink is needed for the machine. QE. There you go. So that's right. So we've got the Fed potentially QE. Obviously, they've already announced pseudo that this could be coming. You've got kind of those on the 3 side. Obviously, on the bad side, you've got what I believe is the 0% downs coming in the US, which basically means you can buy houses with no money. Yeah, that's not good. You've obviously got the tariffs. In history, tariffs have never really worked out. So that has not been good if we can see them consistently sit on. And of course, in general, all of the same exacerbation that you've got. But, realistically, these are what the markets look for now. They create sugar rushes. And this is a huge component why the markets continue to find buyers. Also, as we know, fund managers caught offside. So it looks like pullbacks are probably going to be met ultimately by buy demand. There's some levels to watch here, 2120 for the Russell 2000s. I mean, inverse head and shoulders, deregulation plus tax cuts could be beneficial for this sector. And obviously, it's kind of holding up better than the others today. US 500, most of you guys want to know the numbers here. Nothing really changed from our weekend video. 6K is the res. This is equilibrium. So basically, it's at the middle of nowhere right now. It's really at neutral. We've talked about this being resistance before. Sure, it is. Support this week, 57.50, and this neutral level we'll find ourselves at right now. Obviously, if we break below, you're looking at a double top. So you're going to be looking in the possibilities here at 5,600 or even worse. So obviously, that will be a trigger point. 57.50, well worth watching throughout the session. NASDAQ, something similar, rejected here and rejected pretty big time, then came back up. And if you take a 2-day candle, it looks like a doji. So again, kind of at neutrality at this stage. No real decisions made. Some big trades coming through. PLTR, third largest trade ever. Netflix, #1 largest trade ever at the close. That's pretty big. You know, that it was the take profit. Could be. So that, of course, could mean some little bit of sequence stuff. And you've also got two heavy rejections. You've got the big rejection here of Tesla after going up into positive gamma last week, breaking 360 as well, looking pretty strong towards 400. If I had to guess, that's where I still think it could be going here. And then it's pulled back down. So I think the thing with Tesla is obviously we've talked about this being bullish in a sea of bad news. But then all of a sudden, everybody saw this. So what do you guys think on Tesla? Do you think that's going down? Going to go underneath 330. 330 would be, would have to instantly find buyers. Otherwise, it could collapse, which would be, of course, what a lot of people have been speculating on, but at the same time, didn't do it, did it? So this is the one that everyone sees. So the first one, no one really saw it. The second one, we talked about it at great length, 350. The third one calls out, breaks. Everyone obviously starts really hammering that 400. Don't get me wrong. That's the statistics. That's what you'd be looking at. But seems to be failing so far. So, yeah, it's really coming down to important levels. Same thing happened with NVIDIA. Big rejection. If you go to the weekly here, you can see here that big rejection off what was really good earnings. Certainly a worry. Double rejection now. If it goes bullish this week, very strong sign. Very strong sign. I think we'll get probably an all-time high. But it is rejecting at this stage. So you've got that rejection. No low steal. So the trend still remains up. But certainly a little bit, we can really see this neutrality coming back into the markets. Banks holding less equals now they have freed up money to buy bonds to fill gaps that countries have created. Add stable coins. Of course, that's one of the comments here, Michael. But ultimately, it leads into more debt as well. Add stable coins, buying up bonds to back their holdings, and you created yields falling. Can't trade Tesla. It moves independently of logic. Well, the thing is, that's your opinion. So the problem with opinions is that they're often wrong because we have biases. So you may, let's say, not like Elon. You will hate Tesla all the time. What I find actually a really cool sign is that, let's say you're really negative on Tesla for whatever reason. And then you see a great technical setup and you say, wow, and the flow's looking good and it looks like a buy. Because you're biased towards the short, if you then say, wow, everything looks bullish, you'd be surprised how good those trades often are because you're so negative on the pair. So because you're biased towards the short, actually the long would be the best when it has the evidence to do so. But then sometimes people are too bullish on something and then they get blinded by it. Remember, we don't trade narratives. We try to trade flow. We try to trade breaks, try to trade data. Obviously, it's a little bit more difficult with something like Trump tariffs because they go on, off, on, off, on, off, on, off, on. So it's made the last month a little bit more frustrating other than, some flow movements. But yeah, that's the thing about opinions. Not bias. Price just isn't logical. I don't agree with that. I think, again, price, one of the ways markets work is markets can stay irrational longer than you can remain solvent. We know this quote. And I was talking with the private community about this today, actually, and we're talking about 2000, okay? Because we can learn so much from history. And I'll just quickly repeat it back here. Remember 2000, or let's say 1998, 1999, many people, incredibly smart individuals, smarter than you, smarter than I, probably just geniuses, billionaire fund managers were shorting the market. They said, this cannot continue. This doesn't make sense. This is irrational. This was ridiculous. This is absolutely ridiculous. And of course, it was. But guess what? A lot of them went bankrupt or were forced to sell their positions. And then by 2000, the market did crack. One of the most famous stories was one of the biggest shorters closed his position 3 months before the market tanked because he couldn't handle holding the shorts any longer. And if you think that can't happen in today's age, just remember 2021. Does anyone remember that? Especially February of 2021? Wow. Your company's worth 1,000 times earnings, doesn't make any money. Don't worry about it. It's the best business in the world. So it happens, yeah? So at the moment, we're seeing that type of speculation appear in certain stocks. Quality stocks like PLTR, which someone mentions here, are starting to get, up there in terms of multiples. And you could say, yeah, but this stock is making the money. It is. It's growing at what the market needs. But in some ways, maybe it's starting to get irrational. We've seen this happen time and time again. I think one of the things you can always look at is, let's say we'll just take Block, for example, just so you can see what did happen back then and how bad it turned. Remember, this is one of the best stocks on the market back then in 2021 Feb. And you can see here we are right now. So you just got to remember that markets can do some irrational stuff, but at the same time, yeah, it's what happens. So yeah, I wouldn't doubt that Tesla can do whatever it feels like if it does want to do it. Doesn't mean you have to take any participation though. And obviously, if you don't have confidence in it, then that's not going to work out. So someone mentioned before silver was running, and it certainly was. It's actually now taken a new high, 33.70. No closure, of course, but to me, this is looking quite a lot healthier. The coiling, the way the market's made a series of higher highs and higher lows. You guys know I've been kind of rabbiting on about this now for about a month and a half, 2 months. And obviously, I've been looking particularly at the silver gold ratio, kind of say, what, I think the silver's underquoted versus gold. Today, it's not really just floating, but you can see here it's come off that base ever since we started crapping on about it, and particularly the back end of April. So a bit boring for a lot of people, but starting to look like it's got some signs of life. Fair, that I can agree with. Yeah, it just happens. I find that one of the first things you got to remember, my background is wealth management. Obviously, I've managed significant sums of money in my life, and that was what I was doing before I really started to kind of come more into the online world. And what I learned in that was that probably the number one thing holding most traders and investors back was bias. And of course, that's one of the big things that's going on there. Thank you also to the almost 1,200 people here joining us. Appreciate you guys. Thank you for watching the channel, subscribing, giving it a thumbs up each day and sticking with us. No, it's been a tough month and a half for a lot of people. Obviously, if you just bought the dip, it's all good. But, I think the thing is that sometimes frustrates us about markets is when things are out of our control. And one of the things that I think, I was speaking from my own experiences, and I've probably never seen, I knew 2025 would be tough, but probably not seen a market where it's been more controlled by just like one narrative in a while. And that narrative, of course, has been tariffs. And unfortunately, for a lot of people, it's coming in at the closes. So what that means is it's all after hours. And that can be very frustrating. But just remember, one of the things that we've seen that's been pretty positive, and of course, today markets are reacting to tariffs. So we'll look at metals in a second, that we generally are starting to see a reduction in their power. So what that means is that tariffs, although I think they're going to end poorly for the economy, but it takes time. Tariffs have been historically found to take anywhere up to 2 years before they really feedback loop themselves. Then they won't be seeing 150% tariff anytime soon on a broad base. So, of course, now it calms down, means more technical, more data related, more likely to be able to follow the normalized systems, which is kind of cool there. You support us, we support you. Appreciate it, Tom. Thank you very much for that. Got a great name, by the way. Good name. Tesla has shot themselves in both feet in the car market. Well, we'll see. Tesla have had bad earnings, goes way up. NVDA has good earnings, doesn't move. Yep, that's sometimes the way it is. But you've got to remember, look at the left-hand side. Tesla had bad earnings, was down like 50% coming into them. So remember, one of the biggest things that you guys can take away from today, other than some other stuff we talked about, again, a massive learning for me in the wealth management space long term has been look at the left-hand side. And remember, if you call something crazy, and this is not to single you out, but if you call something crazy, it generally means you don't understand why it did it. There is always a reason. It is generally logical, actually, and it is usually around stealing our money. So today's story is, of course, the big thing is the metals market. All metals are up, of course. We're seeing specifically metals going up off this Trump tariff report, of course, adding 50% onto the steel. And you can see here 62.25 with metals up 3.58%. And some metal stocks are up as much as 20 today. You seriously think that we won't see 150% tariffs again? Look, you'd never say never. It's possible, but I don't think so. The thing is, as well, as the markets won't react as heavily to them because they've seen the story before. Tariffs on, some kind of deal, tariffs off, tariffs reduced. Now, once the market figures out what it thinks is happening, it lessens. Remember, once you keep seeing something, it becomes less and less and less impactful. It's kind of like that old story of the boy who cried wolf, and then the wolf ate him. Because the thing was that there really was a wolf, but there never was before. So in this case, the market's the same thing. Once it sees something enough, then it just starts to ignore it. And that's why over the years, you've seen several things impact markets less than they used to. Downgrades, for example. We had Moody's downgrade in the US just week and a half, 2 weeks ago. Historically, that moved the market the first time like 7, 8, maybe 10+% to the downside. The second time, 6.5%. This time, 0.5, 1%, barely moved down. Look at silver go, by the way, up 0.4 now against gold, 2.45%. We'll just watch that one. Oh, yeah. That's right, comments. I see your hate on silver. And maybe we'll have the last laugh, guys. Silver haters. They're getting burnt today. Taco trade. Oh, yes, that thing. We're all numb to tariff headlines. Yep, exactly. The media also has a big part to play. Spam, spam, spam. I'm leaning towards large cap stocks taking a breather while small caps and mids do some catch up. Markets won't move much, but some of these stocks will rip. It's a fair assumption, Jake. You can obviously look at codes such as the mid caps or versus the small mid caps versus large to see that flow. Actually, I'll write it down. I'll put it on the next video. I'll put it on the close. INM is going crazy. Now, I've seen your comment a few times here. So let's have a look at this INM. Oh, my goodness. 146% up. It's going crazy, but how can you be involved in this? It's a $3 million business. I don't even know why I put this on the screen. Pharmaceutical up 140-something%. This is not really how you make money. It's just more of if you're in it, like boxing, at the right price. But yeah, $3 million. It's just not enough. You need 5 billion. 5 billion minimum 5 billion. Why so bullish on silver? I'm bullish on silver, and I have been because I think that in geopolitical tensions, in mid to late cycles in the type of timing that we are in markets, that silver is one of the three pillars for me. That's gold, Bitcoin, and silver. And what I think they are is I think they're relatively good bets on instability. So when you have geopolitical tensions, and also you've got AI as well, as someone mentioned before, silver's used a little bit in that. You often do see these types of things start to run, and the gold silver trade, gold has been so good to us. It's been amazing. Bitcoin obviously been great to a lot of people, and picked up also when we thought it would based on gold's reduction. But silver's still been sitting, and it's been artificially killed for years. So this is not very well priced. If you go back to the 70s, you would have paid more for it. Space is a good place for investing. I'm not sure about that. I think it's too early. I think you're not wrong. If I was to guess the most valuable thing in space at the moment, what do you guys think? What do you think in terms of space? If you were to able to invest right now in the program, the thing of your choosing in space, what would you want to invest in? Silver could have a massive short squeeze. That's anticipated for a decade, right? That's correct. Timing is everything. Everyone's been crapping on about silver for a long time. So in 2011, silver's going to go crazy. In 2012, silver's going to go crazy. And the same thing happened with gold bugs. My entire, I guess investing and trading career, starting in like 2007-ish, everyone's been crapping on about gold and silver, especially 2012. That was the loudest point in time. And they've been wrong. They've been wrong on silver for over a decade. So remember, timing is everything. And although I'm crapping on about it the last month and a half, 2 months, you've got to remember, to me, it's just around time. Could be wrong. Could be wrong. But generally speaking, it's been okay. Mining asteroids and planet metals. Gold was flat for 10 years. Exactly. Starlink, satellites, Starlink. Oh, you guys are pretty smart. Comms, surveillance, minerals in space. Absolutely. It's time for gold, silver, and Bitcoin to outperform everything. It's certainly, there's something that we've been playing pretty heavily on as a more consistent thing over the last 6 to 12 months. Silver has been in the lost decade for 5 decades. You're not wrong. 1970s, massive boom, $45, $50 an ounce-ish. And then, of course, massive bust, booms up again, 2011, 45, and then bust. So, yeah, it's the same price. You're not wrong. 3D printing in space. Not sure about that one. But, yeah, if I had to guess, the best thing in space right now would be, most people don't know, let's say this is the world, and we've got like these little satellites around. We've got a lot of space junk, okay, which is actually a huge problem. And when you want to send your little satellite up, and the space junk is dangerous. So first up, the most profitable thing to do would be to control this space and put as many things as possible so no one else can put anything else. And in essence, I think that is the first most popular thing. Then, of course, the obvious one is to mine other things. Can you invest in it? Not really. Space tourism? No. Does anyone else think that this is junk? Not to, rag you out or anything, man, but I just don't think space tourism is profitable. How do you scale that? How many people can actually afford it? What do you think? Space tourism, is that? I know that's been the one that everyone follows and says, yeah, man. But our channel, we've been crapping on about how not Virgin, whatever it is, the Bezos thing, SPCE or whatever it is terrible. Terrible. Space trash removal. Yeah. Astro is a good example of space investing going bunk. Ask Katy Perry. Any thoughts on BYD, Tom? Waking up. Thanks for waking up Germany with your videos every day. Appreciate it, man. Thank you very much. Love Germany. Would like to eat some German food. I will be over there hopefully in the next couple of years. I wake up with your videos every day for the past 6 months. My wife cannot stand your voice anymore in the early mornings. Oh, that's a bit sad. Maybe I'll give her a shout out. And she'll be like, what the hell? Healthcare sector just hit the lowest oversold position not seen since the COVID crash. Certainly is getting a massive hammering. I think that's healthcare should be pulling good this year. So obviously not so far because of the tariff situation and stuff. But yeah, I think it will ultimately pull through. It's usually a late cycle indicator. Munich is the best city in the world, in my opinion. Okay. I already have too much space in my head. Got to fill that with some stock information. One way space trips for certain people. Quillau, thank you very much. Ocean mining, like deep ocean mining. PFE is an interesting value play right now. Yeah, so if you load up something like Pfizer, you'll notice that Pfizer is absolutely brutalized. I mean, it is $23.55. And I think it's getting, I don't know what the PE is on this, but it's very low. And you can see here that Pfizer is at the same price as it was in 1997. Let that sink in. And this is why sometimes owning the wrong stock can be brutal. 1997. Sad face. Oh my goodness. Stacey F says, Super Gal says, love your voice. Whoever said that is crazy. I agree, Stacey. Nah, maybe not crazy, but I can understand, 30 minutes every morning trying to have a chat with your husband. Then I'm just having a chat with your husband. It's probably not going to work out too well, is it? I think you might need to mute me for sometimes there. Vaccine karma. Yeah, well, Moderna also getting smashed up, isn't it? Although I heard today it was going in a little bit better. If we're considering space sector, plants and energy storage are the big ticket items. Interesting. INTC too. Yeah, that's right. Very low. Yeah, BYD going back up when they sell back their inventory. So the thing with BYD, so if you're not familiar, outside of the US, most people will know BYD pretty well. But basically, it is, I would say, arguably, not even arguably, one of the most impressive companies right now. This is not really the BYD stock, but in terms of just electric cars, they're absolutely dominating. See a lot of them here in Australia. I'm sure they're in Europe. Cheap price, pretty good, very good competition to, of course, Tesla. And arguably, they've got some amazing stuff in the product line for the prices. They rallied up, and then, of course, they've come crashing back down, but still in an upward trend overall. So, yeah, they're in an upward trend, a little bit of pullback. Look, I'm not a big fan of car companies traditionally. These guys run on almost no profit, really. So it's all just about domination at the end. And they want to be basically Toyota. How do I get your daily videos, Tom? Jake says. Which one, man? Do you want the live streams or the daily vids in terms of the YouTube after hours? So thanks, Quill Owl, again. If you want just the normal ones, just sub to the channel and we do them at the end of the close. Tom, did I make a good move for buying Dow on Friday, 25.50? Okay. 25.50 on Friday. How did you go for 25.50? Oh, you bought like a call for it. Well, it's definitely beaten down. I mean, it's good support. You can see here it's back in the COVID lows. This is a oversold area. $19.61 billion company, been a heavy sell for quite some time. Did turn a little bit a few weeks ago. I think it's like not really like exceptional, but volume is good. And I can see why you wouldn't demand this price. And realistically, it's the best level that you've hit in a year. So, yeah. Banking stocks are going to become gambling stocks if the poll is right. Yes, we'll close the poll now. So 77% of you believe deregulation is coming this year. And probably, I guess, if I asked the time, you'd think it's coming sooner rather than later. So a lot of you guys obviously going with that. And I think rightfully so. it's highly, highly likely that deregulation will be in the cards or on the cards. Silver, guys. Holy moly. Hey, wait a second over here. Did I just go blind or did I see 3%? Oh, I must admit, I'm feeling all right about this. Dun, dun. Yes. A lot of crap for this one, so I'd like to see it go up. Yeah, Tesla over the $1 trillion valuation for car company. We are at the end of the bubble. There's Spider Face. Yeah, look, I think the thing with Tesla is most people remember a huge portion of it's held by retail, kind of like a cult-like following in terms of buyers, and people buy it based on AI and calling it an AI business and all sorts of things. So I think Tesla's always been the X factor stock. I don't know if BYD is an X factor like that. I think it's just a Toyota style business that is obviously on the up and up. Tom, I bought Dow Chemicals. Oh, okay. Silver is now up 3%. I know that's impressive for this thing. Google forgot to fly to space. It's true. Why Google hasn't been doing as well. But let's talk Google here for a second. Down 2% today. They did forget to fly to space. It's actually a pretty good Friday close. Still think it's cheap on paper. Well, mostly the risk to Google is actually, I believe, country intervention. So Google's main risk is really Euro, anyone really, any of the Western nations, to be honest, getting involved and saying, no, Mr. Google, you can't do this. But in general, on paper, looks cheap, pretty good build, fairly cheap across the board. So it's certainly still pretty cool. And I think price action wise, still relatively strong. Copper's at almost 5% today, by the way, with this tariff stuff and the metals movement. You can see here, really big movement out. This is a fairly big deal. I mean, copper already starting to move above that potential bull zone that we've had on this chart for a while. And again, another breakout on metals. So, looking quite strong. HIM's to 65 today. So HIM's a bit of a meme stock in many ways, the way it's been breaking. 65 in one day, you think? The 65 up here. Nah, I don't think so. What's the reason you think 65 today? Stuck in a little bit of a potential island reversal. Gap down, build, gap up would be pretty strong for it. Consolidating just below the previous high. That's good in terms of potential break to a new high. Probably look for it to come out a little bit stronger here. Raj says, come on, Silver. It's time to stop losing decades. That's correct, Raj. Doesn't Google have share in SpaceX? I actually don't know the answer to that. Someone else can tell us. TCM, doesn't Google have a share in SpaceX? No idea. Natty Gas up 8. Yeah, metals across the board. Everything to do with anything and everything to do with all that stuff is up big time. If we have a look here at futures, you can see here natural gas up 7.98%. Crude's up 4.72. Actually had a bit of a replicable trade towards the long this morning. And even palladium up 2.42. Copper up 4.64. Silver is almost up 3 now, as we just saw. Gold up 1.89. You look here at this leaderboard. I mean, that's some massive big moves on the metals and commodity space today. So this is what happens. We got these big moves. Natural gas, definitely the most dangerous of these top trades, because as you guys know, the roll contracts on this are horrendous. If you want to trade silver on the market, what are some good options to do that? Generally exchange traded funds, spot holding bullion, and for longer, obviously the CFDs and futures. And then, of course, there's the silver mining stocks, though they tend to be a little bit dodgier. Yep, Google is in SpaceX deep. Okay, I didn't actually know that. What do you think of gambling stock? I feel like there's a trend with sports betting and online gambling. Online gambling is huge. I think the biggest online gambling businesses, though, are often tied to crypto, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not even sure if they're on the markets. Hi, Thomas. Greetings from the Netherlands. Hey, Kenji. What do you think about Path and Jobby? We'll have a look at one of those. Let's take a look at Path here. There you buy Path, popular stock. Bounced heavy to 15 last week. Definitely target. You can see here the strong resistance. So this is why sometimes it's best to take profits at these key levels. 15, just before 15. See how it doesn't quite hit 15? Very classic thing for it to do. And if you have your level 2 data open, you can often see here there would have been so many sells at 15. So something like a $14.95, 90 cents. You would have really seen that in the lines. We don't often do this in the show, but certainly worthwhile paying attention to. Tom, you should look into who controls the rare earth and the recent jump in rare earth stocks. They already set rare export restrictions, and there are very few US tickers who do rare earth. Yeah, I know. I'm pretty well aware. In fact, I heard that in some fighter pilot plane earth metals, that there's almost 95% of the market's been cornered. So yeah, it's a big issue here. So some rare earth metals, not up to date in this pre-market, but some of these are super rare. And I think over the next 15 years, 10 years, if you know which ones, there's going to be a absolute ballistic run on some of these really rare earths that are needed for, in particular, defense. Can we have a look at AMD and Okta? Yeah, sure. AMD certainly worthwhile paying attention. I think AMD's been doing pretty well on the retail side. That is, we've seen some very nice cards come out to compete with NVIDIA. I think NVIDIA, I mean, I don't know. Some of you guys are gamers. Do you think NVIDIA's lost its way with gamers? I know they don't care because they're making all their money off data centers and AI stuff. But I've got a question for you. If a business loses sight of its core customers, its original OG customers, do you think it's ultimately doomed? Chamartha's using his Golden State Warrior money to buy up some rare earth companies. I understand that concept. Yes, gamers are not happy with NVIDIA. Buffalo says 100% to that. NVIDIA is the most overhyped stock of this era. Basically, Tesla too. It's a delicate balance. No, yes. Okay. Not in NVIDIA's case. AI is way bigger market than gaming GPUs. Yeah. NVIDIA will do fine until AMD, Apple, Intel, etc. can compete in AI accelerated hardware. Yep. Interesting. A lot of see these polarizing opinions each way. So a lot of people obviously feeling each way about it. Look, I think it's a good thing for AMD. Ultimately, AMD can step in and take some of the space. Not saying it's the most profitable space. Obviously, gaming home cards is certainly not the industry of growth. It's all about AI. But yeah, AMD, some good levels here at 118, 120. I actually like the price action. I've actually liked the stock from being real since about 120. So I like 100 in particular. Love this area here. I thought was really strong. Then we got the tariff stuff, but I thought this was an awesome area. This just under 100. And I continue to think, it looks okay on paper and on the TA here. So you've got, pretty consistent volume, nothing exceptional, but yeah, I quite like it. And I think it's got some redeeming factors on the charts. Okta, yeah, I mean, less so after last week, I guess. But again, breakout was there and the market's pulled back, but I would say just trading around the normalized range. AMD has the best processors and they get the cards. They can absolutely shave off NVIDIA and consumer segment. I think they'll improve. AMD is tricky because the PE is still high, but the chart is good. Yeah, I agree. But I think the PE, if you look at the ratios where they were and where they are now, and also the 5-year averages, I think they're a little bit undervalued. Oil popping today. Yes, let's move over to oil here for a second because that's a 4.8%. And you can see here popped up. And actually on the 2-hour, it showed signs of popping earlier when it broke this 61.70. This is actually a pretty strong break. You got to remember, oil has been coiling, another coil market, 64.50, 64 plus a barrel. could really fly up to 70 plus a barrel fairly quickly. And a lot of people don't consider coils enough. Coils, especially when they've taken out the low. This could be on a rocket ship. I could see oil. What do you guys think? Next week, if it breaks 64.50, what's your target? Let's have a look. What do you think? Inverse head and shoulders, maybe forming neckline right here on oil. Yeah, of course, the argument is obviously the old. I wouldn't call it an inverse head and shoulders because your left shoulder's pretty deep. But we can call it double bottom. It doesn't really matter. Proof is, of course, most of you are going to say this around 70 to 72. Thomas, what's the deal with taxing unrealized gains in Australia? Is this something that's going to pass in Oz? Yeah, so I see a lot of people messaging that. Look, I must admit I should be more on top of it, but as far as I understand it, I think people are misinformationing on it. The unrealized capital gains tax, as far as I understand, is particularly on super, which is 401k, over a certain amount, over $3 million. So it's something that's not going to be indexed though. So long term, it's a bit sneaky because it's like anything. Whenever you see these taxes come in, remember when a tax is implemented, it is unlikely to go away. It's one of the general rules of thumb. As we all know, living in the countries that we do, once they implement it, they're like, oh, it worked. So if you put I think it's up to $3 million on super, which is 401k against pension savings, whatever you want to call it. And I believe it's not indexed. So that basically means that it'll be $3 million now. It'll be $3 million next year. It'll be $3 million next year. You can imagine if your investment assets go up over the next 10 years and you make 150% and you had like $1 million or 200%, you got like $1 million, and all of a sudden you're hitting the threshold and they're like suddenly taxing you on that unrealized. So yeah, it's a little sneaky, but it's probably, I think, the beginning of it all. So as far as I know, it's only on that. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. And all the crypto community is going crazy because they're like, Bitcoin's being taxed. So yeah. In Australia, IRAs and 401ks self-directed. They can be. It's called a self-managed super fund. You obviously need to meet the criteria and get an accountant to do it and audit and all this other stuff. Thank you for taking a look at Google. No worries. I'm still pretty bullish on the Google chart, but that's more of a fundamental side. So hopefully we don't get a government getting involved in it. I was thinking about silver and then platinum randomly crossed my mind. I accidentally found out about a possible platinum supply squeeze because of South Africa and Russia controls all of the platinum. Yeah, this is a comment I've seen a lot over the years. Generally speaking, it's not really come play. That was obviously the argument also during the Russia-Ukraine invasion. We saw platinum, I think it was, spike pretty hard during that time. They will up GST next, likely. This person's thinking big brain, likely for Australians out there. Highly likely. Rare earth metals, MTM, ASX is a great chart and has a new flash Joule heating. Same argument for palladium. That's correct. I think it was palladium actually was the one. Tom, will you think Tesla waterfall? How do we have to hold? Do we have to hold 340? It's very important for Tesla to hold the support. Not 340 so much. Has to hold 332. So the problem is that here is the major issue. And if we're looking at the options world, so we can have a look at that together right now, and we check out these 320 areas, you can see there's a little bit of puts at 335 and 320, and 320 then rocks up the next week. So you can kind of see to get a waterfall would be under 320. There's no doubt a lot of people turn bullish. No doubt 400 is the target if the markets go bullish. You can clearly see the core walls. But the problem is that, is the market gearing for a steal here? It's hard to predict that. I think that generally speaking, the chart was still bullish. Some super will let you buy and sell the ASX 300 stocks. Oh, yeah, but we're not. Yeah, I understand. It's a little bit different. Obviously, seek financial advice if you're thinking about anything to do with your pension funds, super, etc. Rhodium is the rarest metal. Mm. So the story of today, guys, is metals. There's no doubt. Markets have picked back up from where they were. They were down about 0.4% for the NASDAQ, 0.3-ish, 0.2-ish for the S&P. Big winner of today is the storyline of deregulation, which we mentioned in the weekend video. So definitely check that out. Markets just open then. So ding, 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 ding. And NVDA recovered here about 1%. Metals are the big winner of today. I'll just show you the chart actually. But it's been metals, commodities, metals, commodities, metals, commodities. If you're lucky enough to be in some, congrats. If you're lucky enough to be in like a silver or even a copper, I mean, copper would be better than silver technically today. But if you are anyone in those, let us know in the chat. Let's load up the sectors here that are performing best today. I'll just get a live chart so you can see it. Okay, so XME is up 3.79%. 3.79%. Big move. Home builders down. Financials actually not up. As you can see here, 0.59. Interesting. KRE down 0.31. Energy, gold, metals. Energy, gold, metals. Ag also up. Semis holding. So it's just all energy, gold, metals. Energy, gold, metals. That's the winner here. Q bounced off its hourly 50. Yeah. Always going to be a moving average somewhere that is moving off. I mean, at the moment, I'd just say it's a kind of like equilibrium. Maybe a level to watch today, maybe 21.4. For each of that could get us back to these highs. Been in silver since 24. Congrats to you. Very nice. I'm up 20% on my metals position in the last 2 months. Nothing wrong with that. See, a lot of people are going to say, oh, metals suck. Rah, rah, rah. You know, I understand. You know, you could come over here and say, look at me. I've, I purchased the dip on the 7th of April, and I'm up 30% on NAS. That's pretty good, no doubt. If you manage to, anyone pick the bottom here? Obviously, we talked about it a lot. I didn't think it would probably fly this high this quickly. My thoughts were this. That's what I thought would happen. Obviously, what happened? US-China trade deal a little bit earlier, rallied faster. Not that I didn't think it would come back up. They often do these when you come off a really bullish market. But yeah, that's what I thought would happen. I am loaded with metals. You'd be pretty happy today. Yeah, quite a few people are. It's an interesting one. I think bears can get people that are bearish on economy can get onto metals. It's like a good combo because you can get growth, the right type of time for them a lot of the time, and of course you can benefit from maybe not having that poor mental state that you do if you're longing some of these tech stocks that have been going crazy. I've been listening to Tom. I'm sure you're making your own decisions there. So AG. So we have a look at First Majestic, the most popular silver stock generally, up 6% in the open. It's very underperforming though. If you look at these metal stocks in particular, the miners, they sell their contracts far into the future and they don't really get benefit. You can see the volume here is massive, but the gains are sad face a lot of the time. How can I be loaded on anything but metals with how they're treating the stock market? Am I supposed to be in tech? Well, that's the thing. It's what I'm getting at here is we come from the abundance mindset. There's always another opportunity. It's a beautiful thing. Hood, new all-time high. Yeah, Hood had an amazing earnings. In fact, all these tech businesses that are in stocks, I think Tiger also had a pretty good earnings. So yeah, I mean, Hood is flying $67. I mean, I remember when I was really bullish this back here. I mean, it seems like a little while ago, this breakout here at 1350 and this pickup here at 14. Kind of almost regret getting rid of them in here at the $40. I mean, you know, it's continued to rally incredibly strongly. So congrats, I guess, in terms of how this is running. Wheat moving to no wheat. Wheat sucks. So much risk, though. I'd happily be in tech a year ago, but not with the big kids starting to glare at each other. Yeah, it's fair enough. You're thinking outside the box and you're considering risk. Remember, Sharp ratio is one of the best investment concepts in life, and I learned that from some billionaire fund managers, and they love the Sharp, and so does most big fund managers. What I was actually interested in is Bitcoin Sharp is actually better than you'd think. You triggered me on the wheat. Oh yeah, no, stay away. Softs are bad. Softs are bad. I have seen so many people. Please don't trade softs, guys. Don't do it. Don't do it to yourselves. When the first roll comes, you'll know what I'm saying. Someone in the chat that's traded softs, let everyone else know. They are terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. Crude up big. Yeah, it's up a little bit, 3.8. It was up a bit more than before. So crude, the stories of the day are metals. Hey, okay, this is good. We can leave the stream now. We can end. We got it. We got it, guys. Silver 3.04%. Yes, that's right. I'm just really interested to see whether this can become actually a thing. Because you got to remember, people hate this metal with a big passion. So I'm just interested to see whether it gets through 34.50. And the reason is just because if you look at the left-hand side and the left-hand side here, there's just nothing much going on. Like so many people have no idea that this chart, could we have a 1970s on this? Yeah, we do. There it is. So there's 1970s, 1980s silver run, 47, 48. I am fascinated. This is the crappest metal. I am telling you, it is so crap. And I'm just fascinated to see whether it actually powers in. 3.14 now. Do you think INTC options here till the end of June? The thing with Intel, the problem with it is you've got to remember it just hasn't been firing properly. So it's not that the volume's not there. The volume's there. It's been consistent through the bottom. That's often a Wyckoff base. Turning the ship of a horrid company, though, can take some time. Is it at a good level of support? Historically, so far, yes. Have we generally seen around here by the dip? Well, historically, yes, we have. Is it good to buy this area? Like anything, it's a risk. Are there more risks? Are there riskier things in the market? You'd have to think so at these lows. Remember, if the stocks go down, oftentimes you'll actually find a stock like this may actually go up as money goes into it because it's already beaten down. So money flows into the defensives. And in this case, it's a defensive position. Thoughts on cybersecurity ETFs? Very crowded now. Incredible area of growth. But everyone's on it at this stage. What's the most important thing here? Well, it's obviously going to be that it actually holds the level. Silver in the 70s was artificial supply and demand issue, correct? Does Reddit qualify as a Wyckoff? I'll have a look. Probably doesn't qualify as a Wyckoff, but it is consolidating. Like anything, what is Wyckoff? It's a trap system of accumulation or distribution. Key level here is going to be somewhere around this, and that's going to be a 128. It's not shocking. BA, please. Sure. This one, Boeing seems to be always the winner of every tariff deal. So that kind of was alerted to us a little while ago. So Boeing, you picked that up during that first major tariff announcement. Yeah, you would have been doing okay. Look, it seems to be improving. Seems to be getting a lot of contracts. Every tariff deal, it gets a contract. Is this? Oh, this is Nucor. Yeah, I was going to say if that. I thought it was Nutrien for a second there. I was thinking, man, Nutrien's up 14. But yeah, Nucor, of course, big winner here of all of the things that are going on. Stocks up 0.5 on NASDAQ and around the equilibrium. Big story of the day, metals, oil, metals, commodities, all that type of stuff. And most of the mag stocks, except for Google, green after a couple of sells. Meta starting to run a little bit here. Amazon obviously floating up. I think the other thing to watch today is obviously when you're looking at your stuff is you've got 10 a.m. is only in 20 minutes. ISM manufacturing PMI may move markets around a little. And then you've got Fed Chair Powell annoying us at 1 p.m. So I don't know what he's actually going to say, maybe nothing, but that could move the markets, be aware. And of course, the rest of the week, the main things to look for are the ISM Services PMI, Wednesday, 10 a.m., and then the big one at the end of the week, which is the non-farm payrolls. Now, this is the most important data point at the moment, and it's expected to shrink. That is, less jobs expected to be created. What do you guys think? I'm going to leave it here for the stream. What do you think? Up, down? It's going to be a beat number or a worse number? Beat or miss? What do you think? Bit late, but is GDXJ breakout? Yeah, I mean, look, all the gold. That's that's gold juniors. We might have a look at GDXJ while we get the answer here. So GDX juniors certainly been improving in recent times. Yeah, that's a breakout, I guess. It's actually been very strong the last week or two. I must admit, I think I missed this one. I've been looking too much at spot and not paying enough attention to juniors. And I was waiting for juniors to go for a while. So impressive movement here in March. GDX juniors really starting to step up here. And if you look at main gold miners, which has been where I have been at for a long time, done well, but juniors a little bit better. A few people saying miss, down, beat won't reflect those not working in the field anymore. Beat, beat, beat. One more beat before it starts to roll over next time. Interesting. We also got a super chat here. It says, thanks for answering, Tom. 07 Nadine, Singapore $3. No worries. Thank you very much for the donation to you and Quill Owl. Big shout to both of you. What's this one? Zim. Okay, we'll check Zim for you. Integrated. I don't know why we're looking at this. Break of 2250. Really needs that. Really needs that. Maybe a nothing burger. Lots of tech layoffs, but everyone else seems to be going. Yeah, it looks like the medical field is still hiring services, that type of thing. Man, silver's just flogging today. 3.33% now. We'll leave it on this one just so I can look at the 5-minute chart and 15-minute chart and have a look at it. But yeah, big breakout here in the metals, guys. We'll see whether it can hold it. You know, it loves to disappoint. 34. Ooh. 34.50 by the end of the day. 34.60. Could we see an epic squeeze of silver? I haven't seen one of these in a long time. A long time. You might say, what about these ones? I want the Alti squeeze. This thing. I want this. I haven't seen this since my early years. And this was crazy. August 2010, 1880. April 2011. Just think about that. Let's just quickly get this. Now, I'm not saying we're going to do this. I'm just saying let's think about this. There's a 162% squeeze. I haven't seen a squeeze on a metal like this for a long time. You've been crapping on about silver for a long time. Yeah, I've been probably crapping on silver for like a month and a half and stuff. But that doesn't mean you should just go run into it and go crazy, dude. You've got to make your own decisions, and you've got to think about it. The only reason I'm crapping on about it is just an evidence-based approach. You've got 3 major hedges. You've got your gold, your Bitcoin, and your silver historically, and it's just been underpriced to gold. That's all. Anyway, we'll see whether it can hold. Need to go back a couple of years to find out the first time Tom said silver to 50 in 25, 26. Yeah, I've been pretty consistent that it's going to be the last metal. Not sure what else could cause it, but monetary fears like this, I perk up my ears when I saw yield curve and read history books. You're not wrong, dude. You know, I think the biggest problem is the US. I mean, I kind of want to show you here, guys. I don't know if I can load up Zillow. Just give me 1 sec. I want to show you this. Yeah, I'll just use this picture. So you guys in the US can confirm or deny this for me. But as far as I know, Zillow, which is for anyone outside of the US, pretty much like the real estate of choice kind of online, selling place. Um, it's like it's just red dots all over the place in Florida and Texas right now. And it seems to me that people are doing anything to sell these real estate kind of houses. So you are seeing people offer 6 months free rent. You are seeing people offer anything to get rid of them. Obviously, 0% downs. So 0% basically means they're buying with no equity in the houses. People are still buying and selling, but I've never seen so many pins in a chart. And this is just the Orlando area. But I'm sure if you load up Texas, you'll see the same thing. And obviously that is a concern. Anything that really ran heavy during COVID, this is what's going on this point. You guys are inspiring. One day I hope to hold such knowledge. Yeah, it's not really about knowledge, man. I find that, high IQ individuals don't tend to do that well. It's in trading, investing. The key is to be able to cut the crap. So all that basically means is there's a lot of information. We're bombarded by it. We tend to read things that create bias. The key is going to be that you just live by, simplification. Simple does work. You'll always hear people say in technical analysis courses, keep it simple, stupid, make sure it's really simple. Ultimately, that's pretty much the big thing here. Tom, too early to call real estate peak. Early summer and school break time when families move, sell houses could be seasonal trend. No, I think it's peaking in these areas. I understand what you're saying, but I think these areas have peaked. They peaked a while ago. It's not that it's over. There are other areas doing well. I'm sure if you went to the US and you went up the north and you went to some of the colder areas near the border between Canada and the US, around that area, some of the cheap Rust Belt areas, some of them be doing really well. Thoughts on UNH? UNH is a gamble because, of course, you've got tons of litigation. Somebody keeps pointing out there are way more sellers than buyers, 500,000 in the housing market. I have mentioned that before, but it's not so much that I think this is all going to explode tomorrow or anything. Remember, you've got the same types of problems that were in the commercial area just a few years ago when everyone was whinging about it. But this is a symptom of, remember, a lot of people in Florida and Texas bought secondary homes and they're dumping them because they're feeling the pinch and they're not seeing the gains. And when you see a lack of speculation, you really need a lot of sugar to get that piled in. Can you share the buyers versus sellers chart? Yeah, sure. One sec. There you go. The buyers versus sellers chart, nearly 500,000 more sellers than buyers. Obviously a big discrepancy here. You can really see that extreme buyer demand back in 2021, the US kind of equilibriumed around 23, 24. And then since the middle of 24, remember, it's, people say, oh, it's a Trump thing or it's a Biden thing. It's not either. It just was a thing, just like always. But in general, you can see here quite a lot of selling and not that many buyers. And while that could come back in, it's just investors selling out of certain areas. Simple for Tom means check 10 things and have 10 years of background knowledge. Well, I think yes, but once you learn how to simplify stuff, you get pretty fast at it. Going back to the office, no more remote jobs. Yep, that's a big thing in America, I believe. Absolutely. This is also rates related. Yeah. Rates have not been cutting as fast as people thought in the US. That hurts. At some point, discretionary spending will go down. People who bought properties as an Airbnb rentals may get hit hard. This will also affect the housing market. Yep. This is beyond everybody. Exactly. It's beyond political. It is the political system, but it's beyond political parties. Florida has a survey of complexities and condos that require expensive fixes to be made. Yeah, a lot of people also get it caught in these markets and they don't realize about floods, tornadoes, whatever else, hurricanes. In Australia, the classic case is bushfires and floods. So people buy, and this is a classic one. During COVID, everyone moved up north. It's hotter there, yeah? And they go, oh, it's hot, nice. And then they buy a house and they go, yeah, look at my little house. And there's like a nice river here. And they think, oh, what a beautiful river. I love that river. And then the river goes, dun, 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 and the house is gone. It's gone, guys. Mold, black mold. And that happened to, unfortunately, a lot of people. Could student loan repayment back on now dinging people's credit hurt them in the economy? It's potential. I guess there's a lot of, look, they're all problems. They all stack. If I was arguing, I would say tariffs would stack heavier than the student loans. It is a 10% tax on imports. Someone's paying it. Ultimately, the consumer generally, historically. But just remember, it front loads growth. So we get a front load, then we start to see a decline. And I don't see how it's any time this time different. So you've got to be cautiously optimistic about the markets. You got to know what's coming up. You got to know that timing is everything. And historically, at the moment, we've still got enough reads to say markets are bullish even upon draws, which is what we've been kind of consistently going since the Zweig, Brett Thrust, the DeGraaf, the 7070. You know, they're all very strong on at least the next 3, 6, and even 9 months. But I would say, you know, if we keep seeing metals, particularly gold, silver, and Bitcoin, well, gold, silver particularly, keep going higher, that is also a warning. Okay. So we'll leave you guys with that. Thank you so much for being a member. Thank you so much for subscribing today, guys. For anyone that did and came to the new show, we appreciate it. Love to do it with you. Thank you so much for joining us here on Monday. The story has been metals. The markets have been up, down, and all around. They're still pretty tight. And yeah, wow, 3.5% here. So we'll see what happens. Thank you very much for your videos, FX. Have a good one. Absolutely. I'll see a few of you guys on Wednesday here in Australia, in Sydney, Australia. Beautiful Sydney, Australia. We've got an event, obviously, if you've signed up for that. Very cool. Looking forward to seeing you guys. I'm looking forward also to coming and visiting around the world and meeting all of you guys from everywhere. Hopefully, we can get over to Europe as well in the future. And obviously, the US again. Love to come to the US. So thank you very much, guys. Appreciate it. And we'll see you at the end of the day to find out whether these metals can hold some big closes. Bye for now.